Okay, I think we're live. Hey everybody, welcome to the first official gamer meeting of the quarter. Thank you all so much for being here. Before we get started, we of course have to call roll. Let's see who logged on to Discord today. All right, first up, Sexbox420. You hear? Great. Yoshi's Taxes? Good. Hey, thanks for being here. Sometimes they can't find you.
Yeah, that's what they say.
XX Dark Lord XX.
Here.
Awesome. Okay, good to see you again. Rumple Foreskin.
Here.
Hey, your first time?
That's right.
Hey, welcome, Rumple Foreskin. All right. Next we've got My Little MLG Sniper.
Ready to roll.
My Little. Turn your mic up.
Is that better? I'm here.
Gotcha. Okay. And finally, last. Shrek's Hog.
What's up,
Shrek's
guys?
Hog is here. All right, we got Shrek's Hogs. Okay. Now, with that taken care of, we of course have to hit our main point of discussion today. The reason for this meeting. How are we going to stop them from turning Mario into a black woman? Hello everyone, this is Catch My Drift, and I'm Jake Steinberg. Now the latest discourse to hit the video game zeitgeist revolves around a narrative design company called Sweet Baby Inc. They are essentially a consultancy firm of writers who attempt to enhance the many story and narrative elements that can occupy a video game. They've worked on games like Spider-Man 2, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Goodbye Volcano High. This relatively small company is the subject of a harassment campaign by the worst kind of people who play video games. This group of people has decided that we are in the midst of a strong cultural movement that is forcing diversity into our entertainment and media, and that Sweet Baby Inc. in particular is responsible for, again, forcing diversity into video games that they consult on. Now, I don't want to spend too much time doing like a cross-examination of these people because I think that just invites like worse and worse retorts and counter-arguments. So instead, I've distilled everything down to 3 main reasons why whining about Sweet Baby Inc. is dumb and uninformed. 1. Story consultants work for the creative team. When you are a story consultant, something that I have literally done, you are working for the writers and creative team. You are working for them. There is no forcing them into taking something that you made and putting it into their game. They hired you. You are providing them a service. It is still up to them. There is no weird outside influence here that I think a lot of people are arguing about. 2. Capitalism affects all art. I think these people have decided that there is an influence from Sweet Baby Inc., and that is the thing that's affecting their video games. As if video games are like a purely creative product. You know, without the influence of Sweet Baby Inc., there would be this ideal video game that would emerge, and that's just not logical or true. Like, at the end of the day, these are products and they need to sell. And conversations about marketing and demographics, they steer these products, their direction, from the very inception of them. There is no pure platonic ideal version of a video game because that's not how video games are made. 3. What you create within our cultural and historical context is craft. That is the job. All right, stay with me on this one. So I used to do stand-up comedy, right? I used to tour around, do a bunch of stand-up comedy. And something that people would always say to me, mostly older people, would be like, oh, comedy, you know, you can't make the kind of jokes you used to be able to make. You can't say anything anymore. And I have always thought that that was like a really dumbass complaint, right? Because half of the comedian's job is writing the jokes, sure, but the other half is listening to an audience to give them what they want. You are performing a service. If somebody doesn't like the thing that you are saying, that's not on them. that's on you. You're not doing your job. And it's funny, like when I was a comedian, I used to have these dialogue trees, right? So if I told a joke and it didn't get the reception that I thought it was gonna get, that wasn't the right audience for that joke, I would literally veer. I would go in a different direction. I would say, okay, let's do these jokes now, because that was part of my job. I think that was part of being a good artist, a good comedian. And I think that's because all art, all writing is in conversation with contemporary audiences and expectations. Expectations, of course, are formed by history and culture. These are things that change over time. So art will change over time. And if you are mad because you are not getting the exact same thing that you were getting 20, 10, whatever, however many years ago, that just means that you are stuck in the past and you're not engaging with the real world enough to understand and appreciate why the art has changed. Okay, now with all of this said, I want to focus on the real meat of this conversation here, the most insidious element at play, and I think it's that claim of forced diversity and where that comes from. So, as of recording, I want to highlight that there's a Steam curator group, okay? And it's set up to identify when Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on or is otherwise attached to a given video game, and that Steam group has over 200,000 followers. I think that there's a very specific kind of person that gets emotionally invested in a list of 16 video games that they can pretend to avoid. There's somebody who ties their identity, who they are, to video games, right? This person feels like white men were being emphasized in video games of the past, and they feel that way because they're right. They were. Institutional and historical oppression means that marginalized voices were less heard 10 or 20 years ago than they are now. That's common sense. And it's the same thing as what I was saying before with stand-up comedy. As people are empowered, their perspectives occupy more of our culture. And that in turn changes the priorities of the art we make and the products we design. Now though, research will consistently tell you, this is a known fact at this point, that diverse teams and organizations perform better. They innovate more and they are more resilient. Diversity strengthens communities and promotes social cohesion. But this person that's mad and upset about Sweet Baby Inc.'s supposed influence, they don't see that. Instead, what they see is a part of themselves, video games, this hobby that they have invested their time and their money into, that they have tied their personalities and identities to, is being changed. Rather than giving diversity a chance at making them a more well-rounded, well-informed person, they see it as less for them, and they cannot accept that. They cannot accept that art has evolved. They cannot accept that the culture has changed and values have shifted. And they cannot accept that the makers of these video games have turned their attention away from them. So it must be an outside force. It must be a shadowy cabal is taking this important thing away from them. And today, that shadowy cabal's name is Sweet Baby Inc. You know, we live in a super commercial, super consumer-focused culture. So it's not hard to understand how somebody ties the things they buy so closely to their identities. But I think it's really easy to see here how in doing so, people ultimately just set themselves up and put themselves on a path towards very, very stupid conspiratorial thinking. The last thing I want to say in the episode today is that I was commenting on the Sweet Baby Inc. situation on Twitter, and I got this reply to one of my tweets, and it just had my last name in triple parentheses. Now, why would somebody do this? Maybe you're pure and you've never come across this before. The triple parentheses are reserved for people who want to identify and target things that are Jewish. So in my case, my last name, Steinberg, they wanted to identify that so it could be targeted by others. And this all comes back to the reason anybody does this is because there is this conspiracy theory, this idea that Jewish people control all aspects of modern culture, things like media, finance, politics. So the people doing the triple parentheses, they want to draw attention to what they perceive as Jewish influence or involvement. And the idea here, why this is coming up within this whole Sweet Baby Inc. situation, is that at the end of it all, at the end of this forced diversity and everything else that they think that this writerly consulting firm is doing, is that at the end of the day, it somehow comes back to me. It comes back to me and my Jewishness. The idea that there's this shadowy cabal forcing things to go a certain way, and as a Jewish person, I'm playing a role in that. That's why I haven't given myself a television show yet. But I'm pointing this out because I want to show you all that this is the pipeline at work. It starts with somebody feeling like a product, a video game, wasn't made for them when it was in the past, and it ends with a finger, or sometimes worse, pointed at a person or group that they can hate, that they can say is at fault, anybody but themselves. And I just want to include this because I just want to show you kind of the start and end point here and urge you not to be like this. Don't fall for the tricks. If you see somebody close to you going down this path, don't let it go. Confront them about it. Hold them accountable. It's all we can do. Thanks for watching.